called to her eternal home on Thursday, November 28, 2019, at her home in Higginsville. Born on a Monday, January 13, 1930, in Fortuna, Missouri, she was the daughter of the late Frederick Adolph Morlock and the late Lena Harry Morlock. Pearl graduated from Versailles High School in 1948, and she took some classes at Central Missouri State University and began her teaching career in a one-room schoolhouse, teaching there for 2 years. Then she took a job as a secretary back at Versailles High School, where her boss introduced her to Walter Luehrman. They were married on April 6, 1952, and settled in Higginsville. After starting a family, she went back to Central Missouri State and graduated with her bachelor's degree in education. You can see that degree back there on the table. She taught 3rd grade for Lafayette County C1 schools for 28 years, 1965 to 1992, before retiring from teaching. And after teaching, she cooked for the Senior Center for 15 years before fully retiring, which for Pearl was not really fully retiring at all. Pearl was a member of Salem United Church, a valued member, let me say, of Salem United Church of Christ, and very active with the church. Over the years, she helped with the youth fellowship, was a part of the church women's fellowship circles, and was famous for her homemade breads and cinnamon rolls. Pearl loved this beautiful planet that God created. She was an outdoor enthusiast and enjoyed bicycling the country roads around the family farm, as well as most of the Katy Trail. She was at peace working in her flower beds and family garden. She would can and freeze, using almost everything she grew there. Pearl was active in the community throughout the county. She was a 4-H club leader and helped manage girls softball in the 1960s and 70s. She was a member of the Higginsville Garden Club, the Happy Hookers, and the Retired Teachers Association. Walter and Pearl enjoyed traveling. They attended Walter's MFA events and went to Branson for shows. They took cruises and trips, such as to Alaska and Hawaii, to name just a few of the places they went. Surviving are 3 daughters, Jeanette Fuller and Dean of Willis, Texas, Karen Luehrman of Higginsville, Missouri, Lois Crane and Mark Bowman of North Kansas City, Missouri. One sister, Corrine Walge of Glasgow, Missouri. 3 grandchildren, Cindy Thomas and Scott of Seabrook, Texas. Lindsay Looper and Philip of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Kyle Crane and Samantha of Little Rock, Arkansas. 3 great-grandchildren, Kaylee, Kendall, and Chloe Thomas. She was preceded in death by her parents, by her husband Walter, by one brother Fred Morlock, and by 2 sisters, Nora Rosenpan and Minnie Johnson. Memorial contributions may be sent to Salem United Church of Christ. There are many ways in our lives that we can respond to hardships and difficulties. We can succumb to the pain of those experiences so that they color every subsequent experience with darkness and despair. And this is not an uncommon path, but it is certainly not the only path. And Pearl Luehrman, in her life and choices, showed us what I think the Apostle Paul called a more excellent way. Miss Pearl was familiar with hardship. Her father died before she was born. And 5 children were more than her mother could take care of during the Great Depression. So Pearl and her sister Corrine ended up with a farm family in which they were expected to work hard. And they did work hard and often had little to eat. This was the Depression. They often had to wear inadequate clothing and had to sleep in a cold, cold room in the winter. And there were many other difficulties as well. And few of us would have been surprised if a person who grew up in such hardships would have become a hard person herself, an unhappy person. But that was not Pearl Luehrman at all. Miss Pearl used all of the difficulties of her childhood as an impetus to build a better, happier life for herself, for her husband, and for her daughters. To be sure, they all worked hard. It was a farm. And the hard work was part of building that better life. But the hard work prepared Jeanette and Karen and Lois for whatever might come in their lives. Pearl was convinced of the value of education, and she modeled that for her family. Not only did Miss Pearl get her bachelor's degree, but she supported and encouraged her daughters, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, so that the daughters all received master's degrees. She also taught them domestic skills such as cooking and sewing, gardening, food, canning, and preservation. At the same time, work was not all there was to life for Miss Pearl. The entire creation was a gift from God, a gift that God intends us all to enjoy. And she loved to go outside at night and look at the stars, and to sit in her living room and watch the full moon rise in the east. She loved to travel and see the variety of this good earth. She rode her bike and she walked. And I have no doubt that even within the last year, when her health issues became more trying, she could have walked rings around me. Running through her life, through her years of marriage to Walter, running through her parenting, through her career as a teacher, running through her work at leisure, through it all was a deep and abiding trust in Jesus. I think that for Miss Pearl, although she might not have framed it in this way, her life was a ministry. And I believe that anyone who knew Pearl would agree. Her life was a sermon to anyone who would listen. She taught us about love that finds expression in service to God and to the people around us. She taught us not to waste God's gifts and not to take them for granted. She taught us to see the hand of God in the beauty of the earth and in others. She taught us that a life of work and play, of difficulty and ease, of sorrow and joy, can be a fruitful and joyful life. Pearl Luehrman, wife, mother, sister, teacher, church member, child of God. She knew that God was with her all of her days. And may we learn well the lessons that she taught us. And may the God who loved her so long and so completely be with us all.